Welcome to Jam's Adventures. I'm your host, Jam!
And I'm Peanut Butter!
Hi everyone, today on Jam's Over the Hill Adventures, we're going to do a practice in my backyard building a fire pit. We're not in the wilderness today, but I thought this would be a good time preparing to go to the wilderness. You go in your backyard and kind of prep one, so the materials we're using aren't necessarily things we would find out in the wild, but it is similar objects. So with that said, let's go over and get started. All right, here we are. It's just sundown. The sun just went down. Beautiful evening. The skies are clear. But you know, with any camp, even though it's warm during the day, it's going to be cool at night. So for safety and security and also for warmth, it's nice to build a fire. It builds up your confidence. So what we've done is I've already pre-prepped some stones here. These are actually landscaping stones, but when you're out in the woods, you would just find some rocks and do the same thing with rocks. So we're just pretending that these are rocks out in the wild. Now what I've done is actually found a stump. The stump you can see here, what I'm doing is there's a stump here and we're going to build our fire around this stump. Normally if I had a shovel, we would dig around this stump and then we would put our fire around the stump and we'd actually use the stump as fuel. But today we don't have a shovel, so we're just going to use these stones that we've gathered. You can see these landscaping stones and some different concrete blocks and things, and we'll go ahead and start building. Okay, I've gathered my stones and what we're going to do is make a circle. So like I said, these are landscaping stones, but just pretend these are rocks out in the wild. So we'll make them round. Sometimes other campers leave fire pits for you. So those are the best because you don't have to build one. It's already pre-prepped. So you can just use what other people. But you know, what's a good idea is if you're going to disturb nature and you're going to build a fire pit, you always want to leave it the way you found it. So if you're going to build a fire pit, it's always a good thing before you leave to pour water on it, make sure it's out, and then you would return those stones and not leave the fire pit. But you know what? Sometimes people do. So if they do, you might as well reuse it so you don't have to build one. But if you do have to build one, you know, just take your stones and kind of evenly place them around a good distance so you know your logs will be about a foot or two. So make sure you have a good diameter here. It's big enough for that. So you can see we're just making a good diameter here, I'd say about 3 feet in width, circumference. Just place the stones anyway. As long as it's a nice looking circle. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist, so I'm gonna try to make a pretty circle. All right, here we go. Looking good. Okay, over here. Keep on forming it around our log. Like I said, normally it would be a good idea to, normally you could dig a hole, and if there was sand or some other things around, you could fill fill your hole with sand just to help to keep the fire from spreading, but this will do the trick. Of course, we're in grass, so we're not going to hurt anything. Just going to burn my backyard and hopefully burn this stump up too. Okay. All right, almost there. All right, so as you can see, we have a pretty good circle here. The next thing we're gonna need is we have a few extra rocks here that we'll place those around a little bit and just kind of get those out of the way. But you know, if you want to make a second layer, you can. Since we got extra rocks, we'll go ahead and make it. Use what we got. You make it a little higher. You can put your feet up on it if you got a chair. All right. Next thing is, once again, because we're in my backyard, we're cheating. So we got to have our tinder, or you know, some logs. Normally we would have like some logs and tenders and stuff. I do have some logs, but first I wanted to show you that we're going to cheat once again because you use whatever you have to build your fire. What we have is some cardboard boxes, U-Haul boxes for moving, and you're probably not going to have this in the wild. So you would walk around, you know, a certain distance from your campfire, gather your logs and things like that. For tinder, you want grass, dried grass. Another thing you can do is up in the trees, if you can find moss, you take that moss, if it's green, you put it in your, find it and you put it in your pocket as you're hiking. And what that'll do is that'll suck out the moisture. So by the time you get to your fire as you're hiking, you'll have a pretty good fistful of moss. And you can do that. If you want to bring some with you, there's all sorts of tenders and things that you can, fire starters you can buy at the store if you want to do that. But when you're hiking, you really don't need to. If you're hiking in the wilderness with trees and things, there's gonna be plenty of leaves and things like that to get you going. Another thing you can do is in a little Ziploc bag, take some cotton and dip it in some Vaseline really good and rub it around and then put that in there. That will actually be a really good starter. You can use Vaseline, any type of oil that'll burn. You can soak your cotton in that, but that's a good thing to do. But today what we're using for tinder is just some cardboard boxes, because once again we're pretending. So what I have here is my box cutter. I'll just cut these into strips. This should work pretty good. Okay, so I've got my box here. I'm cutting my strips. You can see I've got some strips here. I've cut these. So as you cut them, cut these into strips. This is not normal tinder, but for our purposes, just to get our fire going today, because we're in the backyard and it's already dark and we're in a hurry to cheat. So all you do is cut your strips. And because this is dry and it's cardboard, it's not going to take a lot of. Be careful with these box cutters, don't cut yourself. You know, if you have a knife in the wilderness, you can use your hiking knife, obviously, or whatever knife you can carry. But you can see, there's our strips. And this should really be enough to get us going for our all intents and purposes for what we're doing tonight. Okay, so got strips. All right, got our strips to get our fire going. Another thing that we can use for tinder is I have a box of old paper in here, meant for the shredder, but actually shreds. If you had a shredded paper, that works good. But any paper or trash that you have around camp, toilet paper, things like that, you can just roll it into little balls. And paper is great for starting fires, so we'll use what we have. And once again, when you're in the wilderness, anything and everything that'll burn. here. We're just going to roll some paper up for tinder, and we've got our cardboard already cut up and some paper, and really this should be enough because the wood we're using is dry. It's dry today, so it should burn pretty good. So I've got some firewood here. This is pre-cut firewood. When you're in the wilderness, obviously you're going to walk around and collect your wood, but this is pre-cut wood. I bought this at the Sprouts grocery store, about $7 or $8 for a bundle. Let's see if it says what brand it is. It's premium quality, mixed hardwood, Simple Simon. So it's a Simple Simon brand. Like I said, I got this at the Sprouts grocery store. So we've already got it bundled here. So we'll use this. Once again, we're cheating, but let's go ahead and build our fire. All right, we've got our materials prepped. We've got our tinder, we've got our wood. Normally you would start with some tinder and you would have some twigs and sticks that you've broken up. I don't have a lot of twigs in my backyard, so we're cheating. We're using cardboard, and our tinder we're using paper, and we've got store-bought wood already chopped up. And instead of using some sort of fire starter kit, there's a million of them out there. You can use flint, cigarette lighters, whatever you got. I've just got a barbecue lighter, if it works. So if you're gonna go camping, number one rule, if you're gonna use a cigarette lighter, make sure it has juice. So as you can see, this one is out of fuel, so let's try B. All right, we have fire. All right, let's see if we can get this thing going. All right, so like we said, we got our tinder, which is paper. Let's just go ahead, and this is an easy way. Like I said, we're not doing anything too tough today. We're just gonna use. So for any fire, you need three things. You need oxygen, heat, and fuel. Of course, the wood and the tinder and cardboard and paper, that's our fuel. The heat is our lighter, and we have oxygen galore because we're in the great outdoors. So first thing we're gonna do is put our fuel a little bit out, see if we can get it going, so we can get a pretty good fire. Should light pretty quick since it's paper. Let's see if we get this going. Oh yeah. Now, normally it could be wet outside, so starting a fire is not always going to be this easy. But then we just kind of take some of these. Our next stage is our cardboard. See if we can get the cardboard lit. And of course, we're cheating and making this easy because we're in my backyard. But when we actually get in the wilderness, we'll do another one, and we'll actually do this with a little more survival skills. So, you know, we got some fire going. Just let it burn a little bit. Get a good little flame going. And be careful not to burn yourself. Normally I'd wear some gloves. Fireproof gloves are always good. So we're doing pretty good here with our tenders. And there are all sorts of ways you can stack your wood. Today we'll just do something basic. Let this catch a little bit, and then we'll see if we can get one of our pieces of wood to burn for us. There's a million ways to do this. It's a little windy tonight. So what we're going to do is kind of stack this right here. So what I'm going to do is do like a cross like this. What you want to do is you want to have, however you put your fire on there, you want to make sure you have an open space so that you can get air under the logs, and that way the oxygen comes in and helps build your fire up. So really, you know, you just put a couple of logs on here like this, and like I said, this is really cheating, but for our intents and purposes, it should do the trick. So we just put a couple of logs on here like this. You know, you kind of put them on here different ways. Just keep it going. And everything's dry, so this fire should work pretty good. We just keep adding our tinder and twigs and leaves or whatever you got and you don't want to suffocate your fire. So just make sure you have plenty of oxygen, and you don't put too much stuff in there to suffocate it. That's the main thing. This paper and cardboard burns really good. So crunch it up and just kind of shove it in there like that. And basically, we're just trying to heat our wood up. So we've got oxygen, we've got heat, we got flames, and now we're just waiting for our fuel, which is the wood, to catch. And it should catch pretty quick. Like I said, it's dry tonight. So I wish I had a better camera so I could show you guys the sky. So it's really, we're in northern Missouri, just north of Kansas City, in a town called Liberty. And I wanted to tell you guys, tonight is very clear, it's beautiful. And I wish I could show you guys. So because of the atmosphere and the meteorological conditions and the clear, the skies are twinkling, but not only are they twinkling, a lot of the stars are actually twinkling colors. So this is not something you can see every night, especially in the city, because of the blindness that you get from all the street lights. But here we do see some stars, and they're twinkling because it's so clear, and they're twinkling like Christmas lights: red, blue, green, yellow, white, and it's so beautiful. So tonight's a beautiful night. It was the same way last night. If you have a telescope on a night like this, or some binoculars, get out and look at it. The moon was full last week, so we're on a waning moon about a week after the full moon. So beautiful, just a beautiful night. So we don't have the moon in the sky right now, but it will be up in a little while. As we're counting down to the new moon, which will be in another week or so. But like I said, the wood is catching, so we just keep, and so I think we've got our basic fire started. We've got our rocks, we created our fire pit, we used our tinder and our twigs and things like that. We got the heat going, we got our woods going, and now, you just maintain your fire and try not to burn yourself. Just keep adding the tinder and things up under the wood. We've got some air spaces in here to put stuff to keep the wood burning. The wood's going. Once you catch the logs, it should keep going there for you. So get a pretty good fire going. And I think that's it. So appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Once again, this is Jam, and this is Jam's Over the Hill Adventures. And this is basically how you would start a fire in the wilderness, even though we cheated and did it in my backyard. But like I said, one night we'll go do another video out in the wilderness and show you what it takes to build one in the wilderness. It's a lot more work, and it's never this easy. But thank you guys for joining, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Good night. Nothing like a good campfire. But you're gonna have a campfire, you gotta have a campfire song. Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya. Here, stop it. Josh, you supposed to look at the camera and smile.
Oh.
Smile. That's...
I can't see when it looks.
Just walk in for a close-up. It only takes a couple seconds. Okay, cut.
Thank you.
Yes, wow.